What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Cervantes Podcast. Joining me today to discuss immigration, ICE, and xenophobia is political science major and member of the Hofstra University men's wrestling team, Ericson Velasquez. What's going on, bro? How are you?
How's it going? It's a pleasure being here tonight. So far I've been doing great, School's been great, wrestling has been great. Um, and besides that, all the clubs have been swell.
That's
How you
what's
doing?
up. That's what's up. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time out. It's been a so to give some background to everyone, the U.S. Immigration ICE, the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, is a federal law enforcement agency under the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. ICE's stated mission is to protect the United States from the cross-border crime and illegal immigration that threaten national security and public safety. According to the American Friends Service Committee AFSC website, www.afc.org, they reported that ICE's purpose is to detain and deport immigrants, which tears apart families and communities across the U.S. In fiscal year 2020, ICE deported an estimated 185,884 people and detained an average of 20,000 people every day, especially egregious considering the dangers posed by COVID-19 to people detained amid unsanitary conditions and receiving inadequate health care. They went on further to report that today, ICE has an annual budget of $7.97 billion, money that would be better spent if we invested in things that actually keep our communities safe, like education, healthcare, jobs, and infrastructure. So with all that being said, given the terror that they have caused on our people, Hispanic people speaking, and other people of color or anybody that immigrates to the United States, do you think that we should abolish ICE?
I mean, I have mixed views of ICE. Um, you know, being from first generation here, my family coming to a better place and a better opportunities. For me, when ICE was first originally created back in 2003 as part of like the US government's response to 9/11, it included mass surveillance, racial profiling, and militarism. And as part of that, the Department of Homeland Security of ICE was positioned or and still positioned to treat immigrants as a security threat, not as people who are part of our community. And like you said, um, their purpose is to detain and deport immigrants, which tears apart families and communities, especially when children are like very young, like babies. And for me, I'm a strong believer that we should abolish ICE, and let alone just being Hispanics or Latinos, but like from what I've seen on social media, that Haitians as well have been getting treated unfairly when they are detained, but no one's really saying anything, which is a problem, because our people aren't the only ones being tormented and treated unfairly, and the hygienics is like horrible there too. From what I've heard and seen from videos, it's it makes me livid to see children um not even have proper beds, like blankets, toothbrushes, and stuff like that, and them like sleeping on the floor with like a tinfoil blanket. Like I'm like, I don't like it at all. And for me, it's just horrible because although ICE does have its good sides, keeping like MS-13, La Salvatrucha out of here, well, most of them, um, like, yes, I do agree upon like keeping criminals out like that, but I'm like, these families should be welcomed here, or at least we should try to create laws, like DACA, that gives like dreamers opportunities to stay here, you know, because I'm like, we don't know what's going on in their countries, and we don't know what situation they're in. It's like innocent families just trying to get away from that and trying to have their kids um like stay away from gang affiliation. Because when I was younger and I would go to El Salvador to travel and like visit my family, my mom and my dad would be very, very careful when I was younger, like about like I would travel from like 5 to 13. I haven't been to El Salvador for 6 years, but I definitely want to go soon. But like when I was younger though, it was way worse before and back then. Um and my mom and my dad would be very careful on like where me, my brother, and my sister would go because I'm like there was MS-13 members everywhere in the major cities. And if we were like there during those times, like they would try to maybe, I don't know, they would try to influence us or force us to go and join them, you know? So that's why we would have to stay with family, you know? So that's why I feel like um we should definitely look into more in consideration about how we should go with ICE further on in the future. Because whether or not if they do abolish it, it's entirely up to them. Because not even just speaking about the immigrants coming to this country, but the safety of like the people living in the US, you know? Um,
Right.
so we got to be careful and obviously do a background check, you know, because I'm like, we definitely don't want criminals, you know?
Right.
Um, but besides that, though, I feel like we should abolish it, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. And everything you said was true. I think going back to what you said about like, MS-13 and gangs, like in certain countries, you can't even like go to the police because the police could be in on it too. Like
Yeah.
they kind of work together, you
Governments are
know?
corrupt, you know? They're very
Yeah.
corrupt down there. But this new Salvadorian president, because the old Salvadorian president was afraid and slightly corrupt. Um, you know, he was afraid of MS-13. But this new president, though, he's been doing a way much better job, and he's trying to get all these criminals into the jail instead of being like outside in the streets, you know, where they can harm and be detrimental to society.
Right. Right. And it's all about the government and like what policies. That's why it's so important to vote. That's why we tell people to vote, because who are you putting in charge of your country? What are their policies? What are they for? What are they against? And I know some people don't like trust politicians, but that's why it's so important to vote and use that right. Because in some countries, it's a dictatorship. You don't have a say in what goes on in your government or who's leading it. So that's why, here in America, we always urge people to vote. Like and even if you don't like either candidate, still vote. Because if you don't vote, someone's going to take office, like whether you're part of it or not. So I think that's important. I think the underlying issue to all this, along with racism, is xenophobia. For those who don't know, xenophobia is dislike of or prejudice against people from other countries. um, I noticed how when we look at history, specifically American history, we see how the pilgrims came over to America from Europe due to religious persecution, and then in turn terrorized the Native Americans. But when a Hispanic or Latino family who may not speak English very well and practices a different type of culture wants to come to America for a better life and has good intentions, like I said before, they are called criminals and rapists by the 45th President of the United States. As a political science major, have you had discussions in your courses surrounding topics like immigration and xenophobia, like we're having now?
At the moment, since I'm only a sophomore, um, I definitely wanted to take this class with Dr. Poriati
Okay.
about immigration. So I'm looking forward to taking it next year because she is by far one of the best, you know, in the poli sci department.
Mhm.
And I've gotten a lot of people have given me like feedback about her, and she's just amazing. So xenophobia, however, I have spoken it about xenophobia and racism and prejudice and discrimination along with Cornell Craig,
Okay,
or
yeah.
I think that's his name, Cornell Craig, and on like my team, you know, like we've had meetings about it before. Have I experienced xenophobia or like racism? Yes, in the past. Um, if we really thinking about it, like Long Island in itself is a very segregated, if not, from what I've heard before, Long Island is one of the most segregated areas in the US.
Okay, I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you look at a town like Hempstead and Uniondale and then like Garden City. Hempstead and Uniondale are dominated by Hispanics and African Americans. And then you look at Garden City and Massapequa, it's dominated more by white Americans,
Right.
and even Smithtown and like compared to like maybe Amityville, Amityville is very Hispanic and African American. Smithtown's more like white. The problem is though is gerrymandering, you know, because some people have greater opportunities and better resources.
Right.
You know, like Garden City, they have a lot of opportunities and resources that they can use to help their kids succeed more in school. But like Hempstead and Uniondale, they don't get enough resources, for all these kids that have opportunities to go to college.
No, right. It all goes back to like where, and that's kind of like gerrymandering, redlining.
Yeah.
Like you where you live determines the type of school you're gonna go to, and the type of income that's flowing in, and like your house and property tax, that all goes back into your hospitals, your schools, and all that stuff. And if your school's not right and your hospital's not right and like money's not being funded into your town or city or school district, it's not gonna go over well. That's why we see like some cities, like if the school if there's not a lot of money being coming in, the school's not going to be very good. So therefore it's like, if kids are not going to be in after school program, you're not being productive. They're going to do other stuff, whether that's, doing things that they're not supposed to be doing, like, maybe selling drugs or maybe getting into crime and stuff like that, because there's no parks and recreation. There's no like after school program, like the good, richer, more wealthy white neighborhoods and towns that are being properly funded. So it all goes back. Yeah, that's so true. So I've seen a lot of viral videos of Americans telling Hispanic people who are just minding their business, shopping, talking amongst themselves, speaking Spanish to each other, to speak English if they want to live in America. So what goes through your mind when you see things like that? And has someone ever told your family members or yourself to speak English because you were speaking Spanish?
Oof. This is a good one. Have people said speak English before? I feel like most of us can relate to this. Whether or not even being just Spanish. Let's say you're speaking French or German or Arabic or Russian, Korean, Mandarin, whatever it may be. Um, but if I ever hear anyone say that to my face, like first I would be shook because I would be like let me speak like in my native language. Like I feel
Right.
comfortable. I feel comfortable, speaking to my family. I'm like, who gives you the right to tell someone to speak English? I'm like, especially for the people that are like just speaking English, and they can't speak another language, they're not educated, I would say. They're uneducated because I'm like, nowadays in schools, like my my um my high school, Mineola, we're a very welcoming school. And in Hampton, because my niece is in high school now, but back in the
Sure.
day though, they would make her and they would make the like all the classes like start speaking Spanish, because it's a great opportunity for the kids to learn a different language besides like English. And I just feel like it's important because Spanish is a very spoken language in the US and around the world, you know. Um, Even though English would be considered the national language of America, Spanish to me would be the second most common language spoken.
I believe it
And
is.
yeah, and there have been a few incidents that people said like speak English or other like go back to your country. Um, Especially when our former president Donald Trump was in office, a lot of his supporters at the time would be very harsh, you know, in the community. Um, so there were a few times where I was like really livid that I would just want to say something and retaliate, but it's better not to because you don't want to stoop down to their level, you know. My
Right.
mom and my dad, they always tell me, they're like, you know, when someone tells you that, just keep walking and ignore them, you know, because it's not worth fighting. It's not worth fighting them. You know, they're uneducated, they don't know what they're saying, you know, they're manipulated, you know, they're only thinking one side instead of like through multiple views, you know.
No, yeah. No, yeah. I agree with that. It's hard though, because it's like I'm very, when it comes to like racism and xenophobia and stuff like that, I can get a little passionate and get a little heated. Like, what'd you say? Like what? Because it's
I
just like
know, I
it's
I
so,
definitely get mad too, you know.
yeah.
I do get mad. Um but now, like, if anyone were to say to my family though, like, I would retaliate, you know, like I would verbally say something, you know.
Right. Because you're not gonna disrespect, my mother,
Yeah,
my father. Like
exactly, you know.
that's not right. And I think like there's so many Hispanic people living in this country. Like, there's a Forbes article that says like Spanish is spoken by more than 559 million people globally. Of those, 460 million are native speakers, making Spanish the language with the second largest population of native speakers in the world. In the US, 13% of the population speaks Spanish at home, earning it the title of the most common non-English language spoken. The US also has the second largest population of Spanish speakers in the world. Mexico has the largest. So yeah, like there's a lot of people. So it shouldn't be surprising if, you go into a supermarket and you hear two workers or you hear two people speaking Spanish. That shouldn't be abnormal to you.
Yeah,
Given the amount of people that are Spanish speaking that live in this country, and also like the native language, you would think it is, like you mentioned, but the native language of this country is not English. The people who like were here first did not speak English. So I feel like it's very unfair and a little silly to say like, oh, speak English, you live in America, or like what's wrong with you? It's like, well, the native language wasn't English. This is
part
not
of it too.
your land. Like I have a very diverse group of friends, and I know a lot of people from all different walks of life, all different races, cultures, and religions. And like whenever I hear people speaking a different language, my mind doesn't automatically go to like, oh, like, can you translate, please? Like I don't like get upset. I'm kind of like, or like when my family members, like I'm half Puerto Rican. And when my grandma's speaking to her friends or other family members and they're speaking Spanish, I don't ask them to translate. I'm like, oh, like, can you teach me some words so that I can, speak to my aunt in Puerto Rico and be able to talk to her? Like, I always want to learn something new. That's fun.
Yeah,
That's beautiful. I
especially
learning new
like
things
their
is
culture
good.
too, you know, and the food.
Right. And
Food.
the food,
I
yes.
like
Like,
food, you know.
like get
Yeah,
people I think Americans specifically, I think, and I feel like as an American, I can say this, like, we need to get out of our comfort zone. There's more to life than burgers and fireworks. Like, let's, experience other things that are different, because that's what makes our country better. That's what makes the world better.
yeah,
I wouldn't want to live in a country or a world where everyone looks the same, we all dress the same, talk the same. Like, no, like, I wouldn't. That's not fun. Like, I watch TV shows, I listen to music. A lot of the music artists I listen to, I can't relate to them. Like, I don't have a Bentley, I don't have millions of dollars, but like it's
yeah,
fun to listen to. Like, I just look at it that way, and I wish I wish people like, if you hear someone speaking Spanish, oh, what a lovely language. Like, can you, unless it's like life or death, I think that's when you should translate. Like if you're bleeding or something and you need help and you're in a foreign land, like, oh, can you speak English, please? But like, don't go up to somebody and like
Yeah.
harass them in a supermarket or wherever. Like that's
Like you gotta be very careful with how you speak to another person, like choose
yeah,
your words wisely, because you could disrespect them in a way that you thought in your mind, you thought it was gonna be something nice, but it came out the wrong way.
right.
You gotta be very careful how you talk, how you approach and talk to someone.
Right. Like it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yeah.
That saying. So yeah, topic. We've seen so many instances of cultural appropriation over the years, and throughout history. White people wanting to wear sombreros for Cinco de Mayo, or Kim Kardashian wearing cornrows and calling it boxer braids. It's not boxer braids, it's cornrows. As a Honduran and El Salvadorian who goes to a predominantly white institution, have you had to educate your friends or peers on cultural appropriation? Maybe, or even just like thinking that you're Mexican when you're actually Honduran and Salvadorian. Have you had to educate people on like their ignorance?
Um, have I heard the is every Hispanic Mexican? Yes. Um,
Crazy.
like when it comes to my friends, um, like I'm very like open, like I don't get aggressive because I know maybe they don't mean it in that way. They're probably just joking, but like you still shouldn't say those stereotypes, saying that every Hispanic's a Mexican. Because
Right.
there are a lot of Latin countries,
So I
a
think
lot.
there's 22 or 23 Spanish speaking countries. Yeah.
Yeah, there
Not
are a
just
lot
Mexico.
of Spanish speaking countries. And growing up being like a Honduran and Salvadorian, like I've always loved Spanish food. My mom's food every day when I come back from school, I just enjoy it. And like I tell my friends, I've never had to educate them because like I said, like I'm very open and like they know like when I joke around and like when I don't, like when I'm serious.
Right.
But, like if I want them to try like a pupusa, like that's like El Salvador's like main dish. Everyone knows it.
Right.
And like the Salvadorians were the ones who like basically created the pupusa, I would say.
Okay.
And it's just like so good, especially from the motherland, El Salvador. Like if you go there and you try one, the difference between here and over there is insane. And when I have like, because my friends, like my teammates and stuff, they were like, what's a pupusa? Like I've never tried it. And I'm like, oh, word? I'm
Like,
like,
let me put you on.
yeah, I was like, you've never tried a pupusa? I'm like, yo, that's crazy. Like you live in like Hempstead and Uniondale where there's so many like Hispanic restaurants and delis. I'm like, yo, I need to take you guys. So I'm like, there's a place on Clinton Street called La Fonda. And there's another one right across from it, Hacienda.
Okay.
And bro, the pupusas there are like really good. I like getting the ones that are revueltas. Uh,
Okay.
Me personally, I don't like the ones with frijoles adentro la pupusa.
Okay.
Yeah, so I like the ones with cheese and meat inside,
Okay. Okay.
and it's like so good. And when I saw them take their first bite, my teammates that like had the pupusas, like most of them already had it. When like I brought them in, so they all took a bite, and I'm just looking around, their faces filled with joy. And I'm like, yep, that's how I feel every time I take a bite out of it.
Right.
They're like they're like, Ericson, we need more now, you know? And I'm like, I got you, you know, say less.
Yo, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
Yeah. So
our food is so dope. And I have a friend named Jennifer. She's El Salvadorian, and she's been meaning to put me on to like her cultural dishes, you guys cultural dishes, and like I'm open to that. You know, like I kind of keep it pretty simple. I just have the rice and beans, arroz con pollo, pastelitos, and that's about it. But I definitely want to try like other cultures. And I love Mexican food, but I want to try other, Spanish speaking countries' foods because there's so many. Like we cook
yeah,
and eat
no,
so
like
much.
I tell them every time, I'm like, yo, you guys don't even know yet. Like, I'm like, you say you like Italian food. I mean, Italian food is amazing, but I'm like, wait until you try these other dishes like that Hispanic restaurants have and stuff. Like, I know, like, having a Honduran mom, like, I get like a lot of baleadas, tamales, you know, carne
Yeah.
asada, fried fish.
Oh, so good, so good.
Yeah, and like some other like popular dishes that my mom usually makes is like that includes like meat roasted with chimol and like chicken with rice and corn, you
That
know,
sounds
and it's
good.
just like and I mean like my favorite food that she makes me is the like the sopa de frijoles, and she like adds like
Oh,
carne and like vegetales and all that. I
right.
really like it with hot sauce too. You
Uh,
know, I love putting hot sauce on a lot of like
my
my
dad too.
stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but that's why like I tell them, I'm like, yo, like I'm like, if you want to try, like just come over to my house, you know, like my mom's more than welcome to. Like she's very generous and she's very friendly. Like I actually had one of my teammates come here like about a week ago, Ricky Stam. We went mountain biking and then afterwards we like I told my mom like, hey, like let me bring him over, you know, try out some food cuz he's also half Salvadorian, half Italian.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I was like I'm like I got to show him the ropes, you know, and like show him some food. And he loved it too. He loved it. But
That's no, I like that.
like cultural appropriation, like I've never really had to educate my friends, you know, because I'm like they all respect me and they all like we all respect each other's cultures and where we're from, you know, whether or not like we're from different states, like we're all brothers, you know, at the end of the day.
Right.
And like when I speak to international students too from different countries, like I love to hear them like speak and tell me about like their culture and their dishes because I'm like me, I love eating, you know? So
Same.
I'm like, yo, like let me know like what's like your favorite dish, you know? And I'm like, I'm gonna give it a try because like I'm that person, you know, like I like to be open and to like accept other people's cultures and respect them, you know?
Right. And like be open to different things, like we said before, and like that's a conversation starter. Oh, what's your name? Hi, nice to meet you. Oh, where are you from? Oh, I'm from here. Oh, you're from, oh, what do you like to eat? Like that's how I, got introduced and very friendly with Ola. And that's how I met you and Victoria
Yeah.
and Pamela and Brian. That's how conversation starts. Oh,
Yeah.
you're Puerto Rican? Oh my God. No, no, no. Like we start talking about music and then it just goes on and on. So I think that's how I've met some really cool people here at Hofstra, friends back home, new people at work. So I just feel like, yeah, just be open minded, try to be respectful, try to keep your cool. But I'm personally, I feel like if someone checks you, you got to check them back. Maybe not with fists all the time, but
Nah,
assert your
nah, never
dominance.
that.
Sometimes.
Never that. Yeah,
So
no, but speaking of Ola though, because being like predominantly white institution, like I wanted to relate to other people like of my race and ethnic group. So like Ola really helped me with that. Even though we were through Zoom most of last year, like I still had the opportunity to like meet everyone like once we got in person and get to know each other and stuff. And it's just a like Ola's a very welcoming like club, you know, like it reminds me of home, you know, because there are like
yeah,
so many people that like relate to us and we're not like all the same, you know, we're different countries from Central, South America, even the Caribbeans, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like if anyone were to like join Hola, I'm like, just stop by, you know, Thursdays, we're always there at I would say 8:30, 8:30 on
Yeah.
Thursdays, you know. I'm like, you could contact me if you want to like join or whatever. But we're just a very welcoming club. And especially now since Hispanic Heritage Month is coming by, we have a lot stored, you know, for the upcoming events. And I'm looking forward to seeing everyone, you know.
I'm excited. I'm excited
Yeah.
for that. I'm
I'm
excited for
I'm
that.
really excited though, because I'm like, now that we're in person, like we could do these in-person events and like get to know each other and just have like spread good vibes, you know?
Yeah, like that's what it's all about. Like we're in college, it's fun. And because we go to a, predominantly white school, it's like we need, again, it's okay to have friends that are different than you, but I think sometimes it's okay to also have friends that are similar, that are share your culture and like you can relate. Because it's draining sometimes walking around. It's like being the only blank in your class. Like that's not cool all the time.
Yeah.
That could be annoying, having to explain certain things like, no, this is a do-rag, not my religion. Like this is, or
Yeah.
I am Puerto Rican, yes. And I do speak English. Like I remember when I had a roommate who he saw a Puerto Rican flag on my bed, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't know how I was gonna be able to talk to you because I thought you would only speak Spanish."
Oh,
And yeah, and I thought that was very, and I laughed, and he was like, "Oh, like why are you laughing?" I was like, "Because that's very ignorant to say. Like
yeah.
people in Puerto Rico speak English, one, and two, it's a part of the United States." So it's very silly thing to say. I didn't get
Oh,
mad at him, but it's like, wow, like
yeah.
this kid from Massachusetts must not be exposed to
Yeah.
Puerto Ricans over there. So it's very interesting. But yeah, going back to what I said, I think all clubs like Hola, I love Hola. Love what you guys do. And I've never I only went to a couple meetings in Hola before COVID, but now that we're back in person again and things are almost back in normal, it's gonna be nice to see like games or events or going out to eat or just hanging out or just having a meeting on campus. That's gonna be fun, especially for Hispanic Heritage Month, September
Yeah.
15th to October 15th.
September 15th. Yep.
Yes, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun and a lot of energy too, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of
What's
energy.
your? Are you on the e-board?
Yes, I'm one of the PRs.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Victoria is the other PR.
Oh, nice. Okay. Okay. Pamela is still the president.
I think so. I think Lucia is the president.
Okay.
Um, Pamela and Laura are events manager. Brian's the VP, and then Jacqueline is secretary, and treasurer is Amalia. I would say, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Are there any spots open that people can vote for when it's time to vote? I mean, run for.
That's like I feel like later on in the semester where we have like
Okay.
e-board elections again. Um,
Okay.
yeah, but I mean anyone, you know, even if you're not Hispanic or Latino, like anyone is welcome to join Hola. You know, we are a very welcoming club and we accept everyone.
Now it's time for some TCP, the Cervantes Podcast rapid fire questions. You don't have to answer it quickly. I just call it rapid fire. But
Okay.
the first one is, what makes you laugh the most?
What makes me laugh the most? Um, man, that's tough. Maybe possibly my brother roasting me. Um,
Okay.
he's probably the one that makes me laugh the most.
Younger brother or older brother?
Older. I'm the youngest. I'm the baby of the family.
Okay. You, your brother, and you have a sister?
I have two sisters.
Okay.
Two sisters and one brother.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm the youngest though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, three things you're grateful for.
Definitely my family. Um, and I would say my teammates, they always have my back and they always make me work hard. And the last one would probably be I would probably have to give a shout out to my brother, Miguel.
I like that.
Like I'm grateful for him because he's always been by my side. We're only 1 year apart.
Oh,
He's
okay.
20, I'm 19, but he's always been on my side and he's always like helped me, when I was younger and till now. And I'm grateful for him.
I like that. I like those answers. I always wanted an older brother, so that's cool. That's cool.
Oh, you're the oldest?
I'm the oldest, and then I have a younger sister. She's gonna be 16 next week.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. My next question: what would you tell your younger self?
What would I tell my younger? Definitely not to like headbutt anything, Uh, cause back in high school, I headbutted lockers and like my teammates, we would like go at it. Um,
That's funny.
Definitely
Wow.
like walls. Um, but the other thing too, I would probably tell him to just continue to like work for his goals, in life. Cause the younger Erickson, you know, he was lost when it came to like figuring out what I wanted to do in the future. But looking through like the media and what's been occurring like throughout high school and even college, like now I know what I want to do um in the future.
No, that's important. Yeah, like you'll figure it out at one point. I think I'll tell my younger self that too. Like, don't worry, things will work out.
Yeah.
Just pray, believe, put the work in,
One of
and
my friends actually told me like last year, she told me she was like everything happens for a reason, like that motto. And I'm like, I'm a strong believer of that, everything
yeah,
happens for a reason.
yeah. And
And
it's like
you gotta
it's all about
pass,
timing.
yeah. And like when the obstacles in your way, you just gotta keep pushing, keep moving forward.
Right. No, yeah, I completely agree. And my last rapid fire question: what would you name this current chapter of your life?
I would probably name the chapter roller coaster, because
Yeah,
there are definitely in college, there are definitely ups and downs. Um, but you just got to keep moving. Like I said before, just keep moving forward because I'm like, whether you have to write a 20-page paper or whatever it may be, or maybe go to practice super early in the morning and then train later to go to lift or vice versa. And then like maybe you want to spend time with your family, but you're very busy, so you can't really, you know, or like you failed a test that you studied for, but it didn't go out your way. Just keep moving forward. Like it's gonna be a roller coaster, uh, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm always optimistic, and I'm always having good vibes only. I'm just good vibes.
that's good. No, I like
Yeah,
that. I like that because life can be really hard, and mental health is important, and the depression is real out here, anxiety and all that stuff.
yeah.
So
Like people suffer like mental health. They have mental health problems, and it's very important to like sometimes just take a breather and relax. We're all humans at the end of the day, even especially athletes too. Like what I've seen from professional athletes, like we all need a break sometimes.
yeah,
For,
enough
like
enough is enough.
academics and sports.
If you
Yeah,
want
no.
to
Shout
travel,
out to the queen, Selena.
yes, yes. Shout out to her,
Queen
the queen of Tejano music,
Queen
for
of
sure.
cumbia. My favorite song from her is Amor Prohibido.
Oh, I like that one. I like
Yeah,
that one.
I love
I'm kind of
her.
basic, so I think I would say uh
Dreaming of You.
Dreaming of
Como
You.
la...
Yeah. Whenever that comes on, or like if I'm watching
But
the Selena movie with J
yeah,
Lo, love that one.
you should watch. I highly recommend Selena the series on Netflix.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I was gonna
it's a
talk
good
to
show.
some people about that. Do you feel like that was a good representation? Because I know some people were like for it and
I
against it.
prefer the movie better.
Okay.
Um, But the show is still pretty good though, because it like goes into like further detail about like her childhood and her teenage years, you know, and her relationship with the fan club president, Yolanda.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
right.
So it's pretty good. And Beyonce's in there, but like young Beyonce.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I saw that. Like they met each other
Yeah.
in
They met at
passing.
the mall. They met.
Yes, that's so dope. So I'm definitely gonna check that out.
And then Beyonce said it in an interview too that they they met and
Yeah, I think in the 90s or early 2000s. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. That's so
yeah.
dope. But thank you, bro, for having this conversation with me. I really appreciate you taking the time out. I thought this was dope. You can follow Ericson on Instagram at erickson.v. You can also follow Ericson's organization that he's a part of at Hofstra, Hofstra's organization of Latinx Americans at Hola X Hofstra on Instagram. Be sure to leave a rating for the Cervantes Podcast on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on the Cervantes Podcast YouTube channel, and click the notification bell up top so you're notified whenever I upload a new episode. Thank you guys for listening. Have a good one.
Bye.